I'm very excited and honored to introduce today the White House Principal Deputy Press Secretary, Ms. Karine Jean-Pierre. She's a Haitian American, an immigrant, an author, an activist, and a political commentator. Her book, Moving Forward, A Story of Hope, Hard Work, The Promise of America, gives a glimpse into her inspirational life, her deep insight, and her optimism. Ms. Jean-Pierre grew up in New York. She was a staffer with the Obama administration. Then she became the Chief Public Affairs Officer at MoveOn.org. Many of us know her from NBC, MSNBC. Later on, she went on to becoming the Chief of Staff of Democratic Vice Presidential nominee, now our VP, Kamala Harris. Her life story inspires all of us to get involved in politics, no matter who we are or where we're from. She's the first Black woman and the first openly gay person to brief the White House press corps. It's an honor for us to have her share her journey to the White House. Welcome, Ms. Jean-Pierre.
Hello, thank you so much, Anila. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be joining everyone this wonderful, it's rainy here, rainy Thursday afternoon. I'm excited to have this conversation during this important month. It's also Women's Month, but to be with all of you, especially highlighting the wonderful work that you all do as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So without further ado, I'm going to ask you the first question.
Okay.
Why is Women's History Month important to you?
Well, Women's History Month is so important because it's an opportunity. We should do this every month, but clearly it's an opportunity to lift up the great work of the women who we work with today, every day, in our different, in different components of life, whatever, if you're in politics or not in politics. I think it's wonderful to lift up the women that we work with, but also the women that came before, the generations before, that broke so many barriers for us to be where we are, for me to be where I am today. The shoulders that I am currently standing on, to be able to be here in the White House, sitting in the West Wing, doing the job that I'm doing in the Biden-Harris administration. I do want to say one thing, because in the same vein, 30 years ago, Judy Smith, who's actually the first Black woman to have done a press briefing. So I'm the second Black woman. And so just want to also lift her up as well, because I am standing on her shoulders. She was a deputy press secretary during the George H.W. Bush administration. So I want to make sure that don't forget her as we're talking about Women's History Month.
Yeah, so I think that's been 30 years. So for
30 years, 30 years.
3 decades onwards. Well, we're just very proud to, to have you there and to be a role model for a lot of the, Muslim and ethnic communities, young people that are watching. My second question for you is, tell us about growing up as an immigrant in New York City. Did you always have a career in mind, like our young Ayan, that you wanted to be in politics?
Oh my gosh, it's such a great question. So I now live in the DMV area in DC because I work here at the White House. I've been here for some time, about 9 years. And then as you mentioned in my intro, I also worked in the Obama administration, so lived here as well during that period of time. And I love New York. New York is always going to have a special place for me. That's where my parents and my siblings live, and I have nephews that live there as well. And so, but New York is such an amazing place for anyone, and particularly for the immigrant community, because it's incredibly diverse. It's the culture there is so amazing, and you have no choice but to kind of integrate and interact with so many people because of that. If you get on the subway, if you get on a bus, if you walk the streets of New York, you're going to smell different smells from different cultures. You're going to see different people. And so it was such an amazing upbringing to have been a young person going through my upbringing in New York. But at the same time, as you asked me about politics, and I think many many folks who are watching can probably relate to this, which is when I was growing up, my parents are from Haiti. So I consider myself to be Haitian American. And when I was growing up, my parents were like, there are three things you could be, three things: a doctor, a lawyer, engineer. So they were not thinking about politics, having grown up themselves in Haiti, and politics was not something that they were at all interested in, because it was a dangerous space, and especially in Haiti when they were growing up. So they did not think that that was something that their daughter would be doing. So I thought for a good part of my upbringing through my college years, I thought I was going to be a doctor. Living up to my immigrant parents' dreams. And then I decided that's not what I wanted to do. I went to grad school, keeping my promise to my parents to continue my college education and get the higher education after college, get a master's. And then from there, I had mentors. David Dinkins, who was the first African-American mayor of New York City, became a mentor. There was Esther Fuchs, who was a professor at the school that I went to, and the program that I went to, who became a mentor. And if it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would be in this career currently. So having mentors is really important. Following your dreams, following your passion is very important, but still, respecting and loving your immigrant parents and understanding why they have that thinking, and that they're here to make sure that you have a better life, as we all know. But yeah, I just followed my dreams, essentially.
That's beautiful. Your parents must be so proud.
They are.
You're a doctor, you are a role model for so many of us, who like politics. And
yes. Today is my mom's birthday, so happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom. You must be incredibly proud, just like
she is. She's incredibly proud. They both are. My entire family, and they are. And they are very supportive.
Are they?
Say that one more time, Anila.
Are they all in New York City?
They're all in New York. My partner and my daughter clearly live here with me in the DMV area, but they are all in New York. Love them dearly, miss them very, very much. But yeah, they've been incredibly supportive. I couldn't have a more supportive family, so I really appreciate them.
Well, my next question is sort of building on your answer for the second one. We are a women's organization.
Yeah.
And one of our primary goals is to create and highlight kind of women role models. Did you have a woman role model?
Yeah, I did. I mean, honestly, I have to tell you, Anila, my first role model was my mom. Yeah. Absolutely. And I am a big part of who I am and how I function in life and even my career. And, I work very hard. I'm here long hours is because of my mom. I watched her, her strength and her focus, and how much she really worked very, very hard and took everything that she did in such a serious way. And, my mom was not a doctor. She was not a nurse. She was not a teacher. She was a home healthcare aide, which is a respectable field. But it's it's an incredibly difficult, hard field. And she did that for more than 30 years. And it was it's a backbreaking field, and she respected it. She respected the clients that she worked with. She did the job because she wanted to make sure we had a better life. My brother, my sister, and I, there are three of us all together. She had three kids. And so I watched her every day, 6-7 days a week that she worked, 12 hours a day, and sometimes double shift. And so she put her heart and soul into the things that she did. And I learned from that. And so she will always, always be my role model, my first role model. And today, fast forward to me today as a person with my own child, not to say that my daughter is my role model, but she is the reason. My daughter, who is 7, is the reason I do everything that I do now. I do it for her. So I understand what my mom went through and how she felt about her kids and what she was trying to accomplish today with my own daughter is everything that I do. I think about her. Every decisions I make, I think about her. So she's definitely an important kind of part of my thinking, if you will, as I look at where we are today and my own continued trajectory.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was beautiful. A tribute to your mom today, and it's her birthday. I'm sure she's going to remember it. I have a daughter, and I hope that she also remembers me just the way
She will, Anila.
I hope so. Right now, she's like, Mom, she's a millennial and she thinks she knows everything.
Don't worry. It's a phase. It's a phase. She will be right back with you once she gets, a little older and realizes how much she needs you.
Well, moving on to the next question. We have young people that have gone through this entire almost 2 years of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they've had to live without their friends and be virtual. There are many struggles that our young people go through. And so I wanted to ask you, you're a woman, you're openly gay, you're Black. Did you, in your politics and in your life, feel that it was difficult being all of that and trying to achieve?
Absolutely. I think that it was indeed very difficult growing up, and I always say I am very lucky that I represent so many communities, and I think it's a gift, not a curse. But it is hard. But the number one thing that I was lucky enough to learn at a very young age is to embrace everything that I am. And to not run from it, to embrace it, and to live my own truth, right? And I think that is what's so important for people, to live your own truth. Whatever it is, whatever that story, that narrative it is, live it, embrace it, because it is making you the most unique person that you are today. And if you love yourself, then it doesn't matter what other people think. Right? It doesn't matter what strangers think, because you love yourself, and your community that you've created around yourself loves you as well. And so I think that's so important, is to own your narrative, own your own truth, and be who you are, and live your life, because we don't know how much time we'll be here, right? We don't know how much time we have on this planet. And so we should try to live it the best that we can, and that is being who you are.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? It is the fragility of life. I think we all learned lessons during this pandemic that, we got to be the best at whatever we're doing. And, I used to be a public school teacher, and young people were struggling. And I would say, love yourself first. And when you love yourself, you'll have respect, and others will respect you. And just like you said, it's so important to be who you are.
It's so important, Anila. It's so important. And this past 2 years have been very tough for young people, as you were stating. COVID has the school closing, the not being around your friends, the mentality of it, and the emotional component of it as well, which is one of the reasons, I have to say, is that I'm so proud to be in this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, because that's what we started when we came in a year ago. That was one of the main things that we wanted to make sure, is that kids got back to school. We opened up the economy. We opened up schools. We opened up businesses. Now, we still have a lot of work to do, but that is so important, that you have representation in government that works for you and that cares about kids, about families. And that is one of the reasons that I'm here working in this administration, because I know that I'm working for someone, the president and the vice president, who understands what families are going through. And it's been hard. It has been very, very hard emotionally and mentally for young people, as you know. And so, I say thank you to the teachers, thank you to the counselors at schools, thank you to the principals who had to endure all of this past 2 years, and the parents as well. Parents had to become teachers. That was something that I experienced personally. So thank you to all of you.
Yes. And what's your 7-year-old's name? Let's say
her name is Soleil. She's amazing, amazing little person. We could not be luckier to have her, be a bright spot in our life.
Well, that's beautiful. And I'm sure she's happy to go back to school, just like
Yeah,
everybody else.
absolutely. Absolutely. She was thrilled. I mean, like many other young people, she was home for a year and a half, and we had to essentially figure out how to do this. And it wasn't easy. And we were lucky. We had the means, we had a community that we could lean into. And I know a lot of people did not have that. We lost a lot of kids and because of COVID in the system that left the system. Some kids don't even know what happened to some of these kids because of COVID. And it's a very sad situation. That's why we keep fighting every day to make sure that the kids are getting what they need by keeping these schools open. It's so important. It is so important. It's been incredibly difficult for so many families and so many young people.
Since you came to the White House,
Yeah.
what's been your biggest challenge?
Oh, man.
Talk about your success as well. One, your administration got us out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
What was your biggest challenge in the past?
It's a good question. So I have done this before, as you had stated. I worked for the Obama Biden administration. I was in the administration for about 2.5 years. And when we came in back in 2008, we were dealing with an economic crisis. And that was very difficult, very hard. And we were able to move the country out of that. This was different. This time around, coming in a year ago in January of 2021, I've lost track. Coming in the middle of a pandemic, we have to remember people were vaccination. I think 2 million people had been fully vaccinated when we walked in. The economy was crashing. You had so many, were dealing with racial inequality and unrest in a way that we hadn't seen in some time. There were multiple crises. It was a very difficult time to be in government. It was a very difficult time in this country, in this world, because everybody was dealing with COVID and the economy. And so it meant that we had to be a bit more creative. It meant that we had to dig deep and work a little harder because we were dealing with so many issues and, like I said, crises at the same time. And so that was a hard time. That was one of the toughest times in my career because so much was at stake. So many people were relying on us and on this president and this administration, and we had to deliver.
Yes, absolutely. I think we were sort of looked upon by the world. What are we doing?
That's so true. Yeah.
I think you did an awesome job of getting us out, and we have our fingers crossed. We're praying that everything goes well. That we're able to continue the successes, build on them, and our kids are able to go back to school and remain there.
That's the plan.
Yes, and we're with you. Since it is Women's History Month,
yes,
I had a question. For many women, it's challenging to pursue their careers while they're raising kids. There's also that societal assumption that women with young kids, they cannot rise up to high positions of power. They're going to get rejected from their jobs because of fear that the kids will make them work less harder, and and then this is what a lot of times male counterparts think. And then you're working for the White House at this wonderful position, and your job is very demanding. So as a mom, as a partner, as a spouse, how do you balance your work and home life?
So can I first say that in a Biden-Harris administration, and President Biden has had this reputation before being president, as a senator, as a vice president, having families and having staff that have families is so important. Like he creates a space that you feel good and and you feel good as a parent being here. It is very important because if you see this president, and many of you have, because he's been in the public life for a long time, and how he is with his own family, it is how what he believes, you should have that time to do with your own family. If you have a birthday to go to, he wants you to go to the birthday, and he'll say, I don't want you guys to miss important moments of your kid's life for this job. You have to make sure that you focus on your family. And so this is a very family focused administration. I think if it wasn't for COVID, I think my daughter probably would have made multiple visits already to the White House. But COVID has clearly made that very difficult. We probably would see tons of kids walking around after a certain hour of the day because that's what he believes in. And I think it makes working here so much easier, because that is an important item for this president. I mean, think about my partner in truth, as I call her, Jen Psaki, who's amazing, who's my boss. She has 2 little ones. And she's able to do this job. It's not easy, but she's able to do this job because of the type of environment that we have created here because of this president in the White House. And you have many, many moms here who run departments, who have leadership role. It's actually incredibly impressive. And what they're able to do. And it's because of the environment that's been created here to make it okay to be a mom, to make it okay to be here and work very hard and still have your family. And that is something that did not really exist for some time. And so it does make it easier to be here. And to feel that you have that support, you have a community that wants you to succeed and wants you to succeed at work and at home.
Well, we have a young person with us.
Yes.
He's Ayan Molodina, and he's listening to whatever you're saying really carefully. Ayan is our digital director. He's an amazing young leader who's definitely got his eyes on the White House.
Okay.
So
Ayan, you'll hire me one day. You'll hire me and I'll work for you. How about that? Yeah. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it.
Sounds wonderful.
So the floor is yours.
Yes, I have a question. So as a majority Muslim women's organization, we work a lot with immigrant communities.
Yeah.
And as an immigrant yourself, what advice do you have for young girls, young people like me, and especially of minority communities who are interested in successful political careers?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit, and Ayan, thank you so much for the question. And I'm very proud of you. And I can't wait to see the multiple things that you do next. You're going to have so many different steps because you're so young. You're going to have so many steps of success. And I'm excited to see where you end up in your future. Shoot, I'm excited to see your next job if you're the director. So I'm like, okay, what's next for you? But it's a little bit of what I said. It is very different growing up in an immigrant household, and sometimes it's not easy. Even though you are so proud of the culture that you're in, you're proud of your parents and your family, and it's not that part, right? It's the part of trying to find who you are in a different country, in a country that is new to you, that becomes your home for sure, but that is very new to you. And I think as a young person, for me, it was very difficult. And I think, I think the most important thing, and it's very much what I was saying earlier, is you have to believe in yourself. You have to trust in yourself. You have to live your life, which is, sometimes not an easy thing to do, and follow your passion and your dream. And I actually say this to many young people. I used to teach at Columbia I taught at Columbia for about 6 years, and I had the honor of teaching young people. And they would ask me all the time, how did you get to where you got to? What did you do? And they said, everybody has their own path. That's the thing. You know, I know people look at my bio and hear me speaking, but everybody has their own path. Remember, I thought I was going to be a doctor for a very long time, and went to grad school, which I didn't think I was going to do. I thought I was going to go to medical school. I went to grad school, kind of found myself. I had some mentors, really trusted in myself, and my parents supported me, even though they were disappointed. They supported me, and I found the career where I thrived, because I believe if you find your passion and if you go into the career that or go into a space that you really love, you will thrive. You will thrive. But sometimes the process to get there is very difficult. And we all get that. You know, I understand that. I went through it. So that's what I hope that when people hear about my story, when people see me, they understand that, you know, I had my path. It wasn't easy, but I got there. And there were some bumps in the road, but I got there, you know, and the way that I see myself now is that I still have a trajectory, right? There's still things that I'm working very hard to get. So it doesn't end when I arrive at the White House. And now a big part of what I want to do is to be a very good parent. And because I know that I'm also helping my partner and I are raising this brilliant little person. And so that's part of I feel my success as well. So that's what I would say. That was a very long answer, but hopefully people got something from that.
Of course, no, the pearls of wisdom. One last question.
Sure.
How did you feel when you stood for the first time in front of the press corps at the White House?
So it's a good question. So I have to tell you, everything, I had to process it afterwards, because everything kind of went very fast, and I didn't think about, I honestly did not think about the moment. And what I mean by that, and I didn't think about making the history. I didn't think about any of that. I just thought, I have to be at this podium. I got to do my job. I have to make sure I represent the president well. In the back of my mind, it's like, okay, you know, all these different communities, I need to also make sure that I make people proud, right? There was also making people proud, but I had to do my job, really. And it wasn't until I got the question in the briefing room where it hit me, where I was asked, what does it feel like to be there to make this history, that I actually thought about the representation and how important it is to have representation for all of our communities. How important it is to continue to break barriers, how important it is not just to be the first, but to make sure you bring along the second and the third. So what we're seeing is normal. It's not like, oh my gosh, it's, oh yeah, this is the way that it should be. And so I think that is what is so important. And that is hopefully what I get to continue to do. And then the last thing I would say is, you know, I would have not have been, yes, I worked very, very hard to be where I am today, but people have to give you opportunities, right? People have to also believe in you, right? So it's multiple things. And this is a president that believes in diversity, that believes in hiring the best people, making sure that people are seen, and understands that representation matters. And the reason I was at that podium is because of this president. And so I think that's important too, to not forget.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? You're doing a great job. There's so many, I know that I watched you live and I was so excited. And you know, it is like we are all immigrants and we want to see people who kind of look like us. Yeah. And we all need role models, and especially in the Muslim American community, yes, you know, we want to see people doing this, and that's why it's important to have young people like Ayan join us and get to meet amazing people like you who represent.
I appreciate it. It's an honor to meet you. It's an honor to meet Ayan. So thank you. This is a pleasure. So thank you.
The honor is ours. And so thank you so much, Madam Principal Press Secretary, Ms. Jean-Pierre, for your time, your wisdom. And, you know, I'm going to give Ayan your book. Hopefully one day we can get it signed for him, and he's
Absolutely.
going to learn so much from your journey. So, you know, your life tells us that politics is accessible, politics is possible, and no matter who you are and where you come from, you can do it. You can participate, be a part of this great, great country. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ayan, and thank you, Matt.
Thank you, everybody.
Happy Women's History Month. Thank you, everybody.